the prisoners we've got, but more importantly, they were saying it was a message to the American people and to President Bush. It said, look at these images, President Bush and Tony Blair, and the images were quite gruesome because they also sort of gathered together about 6 bodies of soldiers and had them, I don't want to say piled up on top of each other, but pushed together in a specific area. And I'm sorry, this is quite disturbing for some people, but I think that's the idea of this message, is to be disturbing. And it said, look at this is what's going to happen. It said, our people, the Iraqi people, are not aggressive. We're not attacking anyone, but if you come and attack us, this is what's going to happen. And it's particularly disturbing, just one last point, that in the last few days, Iraqi officials, the information minister, has said that any prisoners will not be treated as prisoners of war, will be treated as mercenaries, and said that human rights and international conventions, Iraq would not respect them because it doesn't consider these to be legitimate soldiers. Whether it will carry out those threats, I don't know, Charles.
Well, let me take that point up with you just briefly, Richard, because I have been quoting, and maybe you have better information than I. I mean, I heard that, but I tended to take that in some way as sort of just propaganda, and I've been quoting the fact that there was a statement from Saddam Hussein yesterday, I thought on Iraqi television, I understood on Iraqi television, saying that the Geneva Convention would be respected.
I think it could be a threat, and one would hope that it was a threat, but you have to wonder. I heard the information minister say this point twice on 2 separate days. I have also heard from that statements from Saddam Hussein that the Geneva Convention would be respected. But the point that the information minister, and I also thought it was just bluster until you actually come to this situation where they're holding people, that they said that it's a bit of a technicality that the Iraqis could say, yes, we're respecting the Geneva Convention, but these people aren't soldiers. These are mercenaries fighting an illegal war. Therefore, technically, we are fighting it. It depends on legalistically, you can find escape routes, and if they wanted to go down that path, Charlie.
Yeah, I would just mention, just to quote the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, in a TV interview this morning, he underlined, anyone who airs POW tape, and the Iraqi television has already done so, as you've pointed out, anyone who airs POW tape violates the Geneva Convention. And I was quoting the relevant parts of the convention, Article 13, and this pertains to putting on tape of POWs. Article 13 says prisoners of war must at all times be protected, particularly against acts of violence or intimidation and against insults or public curiosity. That last phrase, against insults and public curiosity, would, I think, could be interpreted legally to cover putting POWs on television. And then as pertains to their shooting, and I really do find this to be rather heinous, that they would shoot pictures of Americans who have been killed and maneuver that so you could see faces on television. Well, anyway, it comes to Article 3, which says, to this end, the following acts are and shall remain prohibited at any time in any place whatsoever: outrages against personal dignity, in particular humiliating and degrading treatment. And as I said a few moments ago, I think if anything comes under the definition of humiliating and degrading treatment, it is that. And as I said earlier, I'm very mindful of having talked to the mother of one of the Marines who was killed in the helicopter crash on the first day of the war, when she said, you have to be mindful of the fact all the time that there are families watching this. And for all of us who have sons and daughters or spouses over in the war zone, she said, this is death for us. We watch this and our hearts are just in our throats all the time. And anyway, that video now shown on Iraqi television, and I suspect they will show it again and again. Before I let you go, Richard, just the skies of Baghdad. We heard some explosions briefly, but I couldn't tell exactly what they were. That was about, I guess about 45, 50 minutes ago. Did you have any sense what was going on?
Yes, I could see what was going on quite clearly. It was south of the area. It was in Baghdad. There was some very loud explosions and then a flurry of anti-aircraft fire. It's quite similar to this pattern that's been emerging over the last 48 hours or so. Following the intensive bombing, there has been sporadic bursts. It's sometimes far away, sometimes it's close. It can happen day or night, but we haven't seen the large, single, prolonged barrage. Instead, we've had short 4 or 5 missiles, a spurt of anti-aircraft fire, then it'll die down, then there'll be another target. So it has changed. It's the way it looks from here anyway, Charlie.
All right, thanks very much, Richard Engel, reporting from Iraq.